welcome to another eDesign Codemakers tutorial for web design. In this video, we're going to talk about the more advanced web technologies that are available in creating more modern and complex web pages. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to talk about is jQuery. jQuery is a JavaScript library that greatly simplifies your JavaScript programming. So the nice thing is, if you already have learned a little bit of JavaScript, you can make your life a little bit easier by using jQuery. One of the things that jQuery is used for is doing exactly what we learned about with the JavaScript code. So if we want to look up certain elements by their ID, we can do this a lot faster. As you can see within the code here, we found a paragraph tag by just putting a $sign and a P inside of some brackets. Whereas before, we'd had to type in document.getElementByTag and go by paragraph tag, and if we can't find it there, it becomes a little bit more messy when we're using just basic JavaScript. And that's the reason why jQuery was basically invented. jQuery also does a lot of really cool things such as animations, and you can talk to certain things on servers in order to get more complex information. We aren't going to go into any detail within jQuery, but I definitely recommend that if you'd like to learn a little more about JavaScript and make your web page a lot more modern and a lot more dynamic, I would highly recommend getting into jQuery. One of the things that we've loaded on all the computers with eDesign is the Bootstrap toolkit. Bootstrap is basically a fancy version of all of the buttons and web page stuff that you might be used to in creating basic web pages. Well, the nice thing about Bootstrap is a lot of that stuff is there for you. It's created a lot of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in order to create both modern looking websites for your desktop and for your mobile devices. Let's go through some of the basic things around Bootstrap. One of my favorite ones is the carousel. Carousels, before Bootstrap came out, were very, very difficult to make. We actually would use jQuery in most circumstances, but what we use now is we use the Bootstrap library in order to create the elements that you see before us. We've got left and right arrows that dynamically change our pictures. Now, what's interesting is it's really not that hard when we take a look at the examples. As you can see, everything has ID tags. So what Bootstrap does is utilizes those ID tags plus jQuery and plus some JavaScript in order to find those IDs and find your pictures and change them for you. I definitely encourage you to go through all the tutorials here in order to learn what Bootstrap can do and how Bootstrap can make your web page a great success. The last thing I'm going to talk about is something called Angular. Angular is quite new, and it turns your web page into something that's more of a web application. Web applications are very, very popular these days because they can be used on both desktops and on mobile devices. Mobile devices and desktops are very prevalent throughout all work in all workspaces. So if you want to make something that gets used in your workplace and at home and across the world, using something like Angular is the way to go. I'm not going to go into any details about Angular. I just wanted to highlight that it's a great technology for you to start going through if you've mastered things like Bootstrap, jQuery, and JavaScript. This concludes our web design tutorials around HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and some advanced web technologies. I've hoped you enjoyed watching our eDesign Codemakers tutorials for web design.